This is focused on Liberia, and we have started something brand new called the Working Group. This is the time we're going to be discussing new and innovative ways in bringing about sustained growth and development for Mama Liberia. In this series, we're going to talk about these innovative ways to change what is currently going on in Liberia. Most of the time, when we want to make changes, we are talking about people, we are talking about political leadership. Little do we pay attention to the structure in which they work. Little do we pay attention to what is causing the problem. We find ourselves dealing with the symptoms of the situation rather than the situation itself. So we have organized this working group that will be discussing and identifying best social, economic, and political structure for sustained growth and development. We're going to keep we're going to be discussing stuff like whether we keep the existing political structure for tonight, that will be our destruction, whether we're going to keep the existing structure as is, whether we're going to make changes to the existing structure, whether we're going to decentralize or we're going to get rid of the presidency and the vice presidency, which some of our guests think is the problem. So this is going to be an ongoing series. We have Mr. Wilmont Cooney. He's part of the Liberia Working Group. We have Mr. Ben Sandy. We have Dr. Batam Kula, and of course, Alex Chuchu Jones, part of the Liberia Working Group, trying to find all these innovative ways to solve problems. For tonight, that's going to be our discussion that will be on the governance structure. We started this before and we're going to continue. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this series. We still have Dr. Batam Kula is going to be joining us shortly. Mr. Wilmont Cooney is going to be joining us shortly. But sitting in for our guests that will be coming later on, we have soon to be Dr. Steve Bole. Mr. Bole, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. Jai. Thank you so much, and thanks for the invite.
All right, and it should be noted that Steve has joined the the working group tonight to sit in for members that are not here. But this is going to be a continuous series where we're going to be discussing new and innovative ways in changing what we have. If you believe that it is, the problem can be solved maybe by changing the president or changing the legislators, well, that's your view. But for tonight, we're going to be studying that, and on an ongoing basis, we're going to be looking into different things, different ways, different sectors of our society, and how we can innovate those pieces in order to bring about sustained growth and development. With me also to discuss this is Mr. Alex Chuchu Jones. Mr. Jones, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And we are still waiting for Dr. Batam Kula, who's going to be joining us, and also Mr. Wilmont Cooney. The last time we met, we discussed three things or three ways we believe the governance structure can be changed. But before we get into that tonight, we just want to talk broadly about innovation and why there is a need to make these kind of changes in Liberia. We have heard about the problems. In fact, we have been making attempts to correct the problem. We started changing leaders. Some of the leaders got killed, some in jail, some, not so well talked about. So we decided that, hey, why don't we try something new? So tonight we're going to talk about broadly first about innovation and how making these changes or talking about these changes can bring about sustained growth and development. So I start with Mr. Alex Jones to give your comment on this whole idea of the working group.
Yeah, well, I think it was Mr. Cooney's idea. We were having this discussion on innovation and on government structure. And he said, well, you guys, let's put together a working group. So we got to be given the credit. The statesman, came up with the idea. And And so he asked me to help with it and help coordinate it. And so I was very excited and honored to look for people in society who can come up with innovation or innovative ideas. Because if you look at our structure, I mean, everything is all antiquated, from the way our structure of government, to the systems, to even the laws in Liberia. I think if you can remember, when the internet came online, they had to write new laws in America because nobody knew words like Google, or how do you litigate those cases. So life is all about changes, and they're all about innovation. But unfortunately, our country is stuck in the past, in the Stone Age. So everything that we do, from government to society to the way in which we interact, is old and antiquated. So I think the working group job is to not look at the past or even the current, but to start to look for new and innovative ways to address our human development and social issues and political issues. And perhaps I think this one is going to do an amazing job to bring forth some new ideas that people have never heard before, and it will make them think.
Thank you. And Mr. Bole, we brought you into this uh, very late, but the idea of innovation about creative ways in solving problems in Liberia is nothing new, except that we want to talk about this formally. What's your take?
Again, I want to say thank you, and thanks to the group for the initiative. And like you already said, from the onset, we were not on, but we are glad that we are on to help this process. I like to start off before I even go into my thoughts here by saying, you know, um, the Liberian people are the most important people on earth. I will say that, and I will not stop saying it. But most importantly, I believe with all my heart, and I believe strongly with everything I know and who I am, that Liberian women are the most beautiful women. And Mr. Jai, you can't argue that. Neither can my brother Alex argue that as well. I think it's a fact that is established, and it will be there forever and ever.
You're just trying to set me up.
But let's,
Yeah, yeah.
let's get to the issue, because I think this is a very, 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 very good idea. This is a very good way to move forward. One of the reservations I've had, and I think that needs to be addressed primarily, would be in connections with these innovative ideas that we ought to bring out to move our country forward. I think the very first step is we must educate our people. You see, one of my fear has been, it has not been about the lack of ideas in Liberia. It has not. I don't think it has ever been. I don't think it has been the issue of presidency or vice presidency or people in the house or so forth. I think it has been the fact that our people have not been educated adequately so that they can make the necessary informed decisions that will impact their lives and save the generation, and even create avenue for the next generation, or set the standard or the steps that the next generation can build on. Because you see, for some of us, we are Christians, and there is something strange in the Bible that every time I read, it doesn't make sense to me. But now it's starting to make sense. The Bible says something strange, that fathers should leave inheritance for their children. Now, every time I read that scripture in the past, I will be confused. Why, if you had a father that was poor, that did not have anything, you've put this huge responsibility on this father to leave inheritance for his children? How does he do it? How does he go about? I truly come to understand that, the interpretation of that to some extent was not the literal inheritance. I think they were the standards, the values, the things that you teach your people. Let's take for example America. The next generation now, they are contemplating on what to do. We've passed the cell phone age, but people laid the stage, people laid the platform for cell phone long before cell phone came. Telephone were around. People started to do research and other things, but it had to take people to educate the generation, to keep them at base, to keep them at birth, and to inform them so that even when they are going to vote, they know who they are voting for, why they are voting, and they are voting the future, the present, and also their voting, correcting the mistakes they've made in the past. So I think fundamentally, our focus should be on education, educating our people from the least to the highest. Because even the people in the House of Representatives and Senate, you will come to understand that they do not even understand the Constitution. They don't understand the law because they don't read. The other day, I was watching one of our senators from the newly elected senator from
Cape Mount.
Grand Cape Mount. And it will amaze you to see that, and no disrespect to him, but these are facts that we must point out. Let me use our Liberian term. The man was jacking reading. Are you kidding me? He was reading as though, even a first grader or second grader in the United States or in other countries could have read simple sentences.
And Steve, we're going to delve into those things more, but how does the senator being able to resolve our problem? I mean, if I may ask that way.
Well, you see, when you have the requisite qualifications and meet requirements and basic standards, now there will be two things that you have to add on to that. You have to add on wisdom and integrity in order to make decisions that will benefit your people. But if you don't even understand what you are reading, you cannot interpret what you're reading. You can't analyze what you're reading. How do you interpret what you've read? How do you apply what you've read? What do you do with it? So that is the problem. So I was saying, some of our senators are not, and I'm not saying all of them, but they're not able to make decisive decisions. They're not able to speak on behalf of the people. All they're worried about is envelopes to benefit themselves. They think that's the way. Okay. And so that has been one of our problems.
Okay, thank you. And again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Tonight we are discussing new and innovative ways in changing our country so as to bring about sustained peace, sustained growth, sustained development, and innovation. To innovate, to make things, to change the old way. And Alex, I like the example you gave about, things are old and they need to be changed, and we can fix them as we go. I remember when during the Obama presidency, when this whole thing about meaningful use in healthcare was introduced, for those that are using EHR or electronic medical records, there was this thing called meaningful use. In fact, that was introduced before people even started defining it. So there were groups formed to be able to come to explain what it means. How does a provider prove that you are using your electronic medical record in a meaningful way so that you get some dollars for using your medical record in a meaningful way? So that was the whole concept of meaningful use. And it took them, over a year to come up with criteria to measure that you are meaningfully using your electronic medical records. So unlike Liberia, most of the time they will tell you the laws are on the book. It's only the implementation. The laws are on the book, but you come to realize, I don't think the laws are on the book. Take cell phone. We were never doing selfie before when the Constitution was written. Now you have social media. What are the laws governing social media? You can take the laws for faxes and landline to use them in this way. So the need for innovation, the need for change cannot be overemphasized. But my question here is, you cannot change anything unless you know what's wrong with it. How do we tell this? What is wrong with Liberia? Because that's where we need to start from before we think we're making any change. Alex?
Okay, so people have to understand what's the purpose of government. I mean, if you read John Locke and you read Rousseau, you go all the way back to 12th century, there was a purpose for government, okay? And the people, in essence, gave up their rights to the state so that the state can endow them with certain incentives and privileges to make their lives better, all right? And so there is no purpose of government if people's lives are not better. So government is coming to say, I will, like moving to a state. You move to this state because you feel, one, you have jobs, you have security, you have opportunities, and so forth. So to answer your question, our system is broken because the major things that constitute a nation or constitute development, right? Whether social, political, or economic. Let's look at the social fabric of Liberia. Okay, let's look at things like education, primary education. Let's look at health care. Let's look at housing. Let's look at all those things that people need in order, children need, young people need in order to develop. We don't have it in, I would say, 90% of our population that live in Liberia, or we don't have it adequately. Okay? So then let's look at, that's the social aspect that is broken. All right. So then also look at the political aspect of Liberia. All right. Our electoral system is basically a fraud, where people will be handing out money, right, to people to vote for them, or handing out decorations. I read This Child Would Be Great, which is, the author is the former president Nobel Peace Prize. And I was shocked that in the book, Elliot Johnson Sirleaf admitted of giving rice in order to procure votes. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I mean, you admitted that it's okay to bribe? If you try that in any other country, you should be put in prison, And this is in her book that she wrote during her election. So the political system is a fraud. It doesn't work, all right? It's one that is predicated on connection and money and who knows who, and nepotism and elitism and all of that. So our political structure does not work. It has not produced any government in Liberia that is able to raise the living standards of Liberians on any reasonable scale. Let's say even 50% of the population. Again, because I know you have all these people out there we're comparing to America. No, it would be callous to compare Liberia to any European country, even Asian country, or even Western country. But you can compare Liberia with, the place Namibia. You can compare Liberia with places like Senegal, where you have good social system, good educational system. The election is not fraught with corruption and bribery. It works. Then the last and final, which is an area that I have a little bit of expertise, economic. Liberia is a broke, bankrupt, backward government. They have no money. All right, the country is living on borrowed time. It's not even a banana republic, because a banana republic at least can export, right? Have enough export, whether it's bananas or fruit. Liberia is not even qualified to become a banana republic. So socially, we're broken. Politically, we're disaster. Economically, we're tragedy, right? But that's the same system that we've been carrying.
Yeah.
And no time was our system able to provide decent living people for people outside of Monrovia, even people within Monrovia. If you're going to do the statistics, less than, I would say, 5% of people in Liberia have, I would say, access to things like, piped water and clean drinking water, and have access to education, have access to healthcare. So even Monrovia, so go back as far as Stortmont time, So why will you keep a system that has produced nothing in years comparatively, that still continue to produce nothing, and people just needlessly are just hopeless? That's my point. Those three issues.
Mr. Bole, Alex is saying the system is broken, socially, economically, politically, and otherwise. Yet, we try to solve this problem by changing president, even though that leadership is very vital. But talk to me also about what is broken, or what is the issue we are trying to fix, and why we need it fixed.
The notion of broken system that has always been funny to me every time I hear the word broken system. The reason it has been funny to me is because you have to have one before it's broken.
Right.
The question is, do we have it? That is the question. And you see, systems don't just fall from the sky and come. People who understand things put system in place, and system work for the people. Let's take, for example, the policeman does not have to be sitting to the right red light every time watching you when you're driving. Nope. The system here says there are cameras there. If you ran the red light, Mr. Ja, and you go home, in most states, for the most part, you'll receive a ticket and you will have to pay the ticket through different options. Nobody comes to your house to ask you to pay the ticket. Nobody will dare to take your picture. The system worked. What I have noticed is we don't have a system because again, I go back. Now, let me say this: not necessarily go. Everybody should get master's degree or doctorate degree or bachelor's. The simple issue of providing information and explaining it in the simplest term to our people. Let's take for example, if let's say Focus on Liberia was broadcasting in Liberia and in Monrovia. Say we decide to broadcast in
Good
Monrovia,
evening, gentlemen.
and throughout the counties, throughout the different counties, let's say for Lofa, maybe they say, there are two major or three major tribes in Lofa, the Kisi, the Bandi, and the Loma. Let's broadcast it, and maybe the Mandingos, let's broadcast it in the four major tribes. And you know what? They broadcast it in the four different tribes. But you see, these are things that people do to help. Everybody will not be, going to school and getting a degree or whatever it is. But trades and other things provide information to the people so that they can make informed decisions. One thing I saw if you just want to build a new airport was this. Somebody wrote something very interesting that caught my attention. The person said, I've seen Liberian people jumping around for the new airport. How long will they be able to maintain it? It didn't take too long. I think I heard, and I stand to be corrected, that one of the elevators were broken. Now the question comes to mind though. We like new things. We want this thing of, oh, let's fix this, let's fix this. Oh, that the president a problem, that the vice president a problem, that this person a problem. But the truth about it is, have we sat down as Liberians and say, maybe we are the problem because we keep requesting new things every day, and we keep requesting maybe we ourselves, we are the problem. Maybe there are some things we don't know, because if we knew what we don't know, I don't think we made the decisions we're making now. I don't think so. I don't think majority of the people make the decisions we're making now. And that is my point.
Thank you. We want to welcome
Good evening, Dennis.
We want to welcome Dr. Batum Kula, who is joining us as a member of the working group. Dr. Kula, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm sorry about the delay, but I had some personal issues I had to take care of, and I'm glad to be on.
Thank you, and glad to have you. Dr. Kula, we are discussing tonight, we are starting with the whole concept of innovation, because we want to treat the new and innovative ways in bringing about sustained growth and development in Liberia. And tonight, our major topic is on the political structure, on our governance structure that we started some time ago. But the first question is this concept of innovation. What is broken in Liberia, or what is the issue that we are trying to fix, and why is it important for us to innovate?
That's a very deep question, and it requires all of us. And I'm glad you have the psychologist on tonight. I was listening to the last part of what he was saying, and in essence, what he's saying is so true. We have no systems in that country for whatever reason. We have a bunch of people who are, for lack of a better word, educated fools. They've gained all the education in the West. They've gone back home, but they can't seem to put together a system that works. Now, if you notice, whenever we have any issues in Liberia, and let's say the WHO or the UN or some organization comes, the first thing they do is they set up a system. Think about when Liberia had all of those NGOs in town and they were feeding our people. From what I understand, that those international organizations put together a system wherein they knew, like, heads of household, where they were living. They had everything demarcated in such a way that people were able to get their rations.
Yeah, Dr. Kula, what I learned, that system was put into place by Liberians, headed by Blambo Nelson. I stand to be corrected.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I was in Guinea at that time as a refugee, but that's what I learned, and maybe someone can add to that, but it was a system, as I learned, was put in place by Liberians.
Well, if Liberians put such a system like that in place, I do not understand for the life of me why we haven't been able to put together a simple system as an address system, right? The LRA is complaining about people not paying taxes and real estate taxes and people having land that they're holding on to and all of this. But I don't think they've been able to develop a system that actually tags each individual Liberian to like a tax ID number, like how they do here in America with your social security number, or that tags each Liberian to an address or to a household, head of household, whether it be it by kinsmanship or what have you. We have not come together to put together a system that really works. That's our problem. So you can talk about innovation all you want. If we can't put together simple systems that work, we can't innovate. You can only innovate if you know how to put systems together, and that's our problem. So if Blamo Nelson was the one who put that together, what happened? What happened to Blamo Nelson all these years that he's been in government? What happened to other people that have been educated and in the West and know better? Why have they not put together a system? We still do not have an address system in Liberia, and it bothers me. People talking about, oh, you go over there, you'll see that big zinc house, then you'll see the rock, you turn right by the almond tree, and then you'll see a plum tree. I mean, what is that? What is that? How can educated people be operating in such a primitive way? So that's our problem, systems.
Thank you. And let me throw it to the both of you, especially to you, Dr. Kula and Mr. Bole. But I think we, the people, what is it that we have desired? What is it that we have been asking for? I think what we've been asking for is we've been asking for the president or we've been asking government to make all these changes. So I think, and you can disagree with me, I think the question you asked for me to answer it is we have put all our eggs in the government basket. And that's why. What's your take, Mr. Bole?
I totally go ahead, Mr. Bole. Now,
yeah, go ahead, Dr. Kula.
Dennis, I totally disagree with your notion or with this concept that in Liberia, we put all our eggs in one basket, or we put everything on the government, and we as individuals have not taken the slack and done what government isn't able to do. A private citizen cannot set up an address system. That's something that a government is supposed to set up.
No,
okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that was not what is it that we want? What is it that we are pressuring the government to do? Or what is it that we are asking political leaders to do? What is motivating us? Like, for instance, if you want somebody, how many people will look at someone, say, Steve Bole is doing X, Y, Z, and we want his idea, his understanding of psychology to take precedence. So what we're going to do is we're going to organize the Steve Bole fan club, or we're going to go to Steve Bole and ask him to come and talk to us. What we, the people, have been wanting is more of government and power and people with political power to do something. That's what I meant.
Yes. In a country such as Liberia, that is as primitive and as backward and does not have the basic infrastructure that government is supposed to give you, those people will always want the government to step up, because they realize that in any system, the government has the power. This America, everything that we take for granted in this country was instituted by statutes, by laws, by bills, by government intervention, by the visions of presidents. If you studied each American president, there was a vision, whether you talk about the New Deal and all the infrastructure projects that was done by a certain American president. If you talk about, now when you get to a man like what's his name, Kennedy in the 60s, Kennedy can say, ask not what you can do for what you can, ask not what the government can do for you, but what you can do for the government. Kennedy can say that because now Kennedy is pushing his people to get into volunteerism, and he sets up the Peace Corps that goes out into the world, okay, with young Americans joining the Peace Corps. That's different than what some people are trying to say that the average Liberian should take upon himself the responsibilities that government should be meeting. That
Thank
cannot
you.
happen in such a society. In America, yes, if you notice that people have volunteers, they have foundations and nonprofits and whatnot. They can do that because their government has empowered them. Their government has enriched them. But look at our government. Our government enriched Lebanese. So the Lebanese run all our economy. So how can your people be empowered to do anything when your people are poor and they're uneducated and they're miseducated, to a certain degree.
Thank you, Dr. Kula. Let me bring in Alex. Alex, what I'm saying, in essence, is I'm not saying government shouldn't do X, Y, Z. What I'm saying, in essence, is take focus on Liberia, for instance, that is trying to innovate and revolutionize the Liberian diaspora media space. I want for people Liberians who believe in these things to rally, and I'm using focus on Liberia as an example, and I'm going to exaggerate. I want Liberians to rally around, focus on Liberia, instead of rallying around, some demagogue and thinking that's going to bring salvation. That's my point. I'm not saying we shouldn't demand our government or ask our government to fulfill what it's supposed to do for which it was elected in the first place. What do you think, Alex?
I think you make a good point, and I think that's the route that will have to be the best course because, like I said, this government, previous government, and they want to come will be a complete disaster to Liberia, socially, politically, economically. The numbers are out there. Go to World Bank and look at the projection for Liberia growth for the next 5 years or 10 years. Okay, there's no model out there that I've seen that show that Liberia living standard, let's say per capita, will become even $5,000. Okay, these are things that countries have been able to do in no time. Like Rwanda, even countries like I said, Burkina Faso. I was there a few years ago, and I was stunned. Not a what you call fabulous or ostentatious place, but the people have system. The economy is almost, I think, $10 billion. Okay, they have. They look at places like Kenya. They have an airway. Ethiopia, for instance, they have an airway. That's innovation. Ethiopia Airlines is one of the best airlines in the world. I was doing some studies on it years ago. Yes. Right? They are even competing with European carriers. They have a flight school. So our governments are a disaster. And anybody who believes in the government needs their head to be. Thank God we got a psychologist here, because it's not going to work. It hasn't worked in 172 years. It's not going to work with the same system next year, no matter, even if Jesus Christ become president of Liberia, okay? And I'm just exaggerating, that Jesus Christ has to work with something that works, okay? And that's why he has a book.
No, man.
He followed the book.
He turned water into wine, man.
He turned water into wine, but it's in the book. He said, if you believe, right, and you have faith, then this will happen. But we don't have the book. We don't have the book. And we're using what? We want to take new wine and put it in an old wine skin, right? That's what we want to do. So the political leaders look at, instead of focusing on building, like you said, institutions in Liberia, the nursing organization, the Liberian Medical Association, right? Building this institution, right? The legal institutions, the technology institution. What we're doing, we're all rallying behind political parties that have never gotten us anywhere. All right. So my point is, again, I disagree with all these guys that going after any political party is just, it doesn't make any sense, because even if somebody wins the political race, okay, the fact is our political system is so antiquated, it's so divisive, that how will you govern? How will you pass a bill when everything in the country is based on politics? You don't have any kind of neutral system. Look at our public utility corporation. Where in the world you would take a corporation and put political stooges on that knows nothing? They haven't even worked in corporation. They don't even know how to read a balance sheet. And you take them because the president can point somebody to the port authorities and make you a board member. You don't even know what the difference between an asset and a liability on a balance sheet. That's the system you have. And that's the system. When I see people like Cummings, people like Joseph Boyka, and whoever else said, yeah, let's go run for election. I mean, it's ludicrous. And when you become president, you're not going to change it, because to change our system, either has to take a revolution or a constitutional reform or a referendum. A president can't do that. So even if you win the election, right, what the point is going to be? You can't change the structure. So if you really want to see innovation in Liberia, you have to forget about the presidency, right? Forget about running, right? And focus on, say, let's change the system. And as the program goes on, I will give lists of countries who have completely redone the constitution in the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, because they saw it was not working. In Liberia, we want to take the old system, right? Run, get to the top, and then we'll wonder, okay, why things are broken, why we don't have a post office. Oh, let's come together. So, I mean, I don't have any respect for any other politician because of that very reason, is that it doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Mr. Bole, before I come to you, I want to share with you an article that I wrote in 2018. It's entitled Government Boom, Government Low, Government Grade, Understanding the Government of Liberia, right? And it's on my blog. And what I try to do in this article is government boom. When we're playing soccer and we declare you government boom, it means anybody can kick you. Nobody, the referee is not going to whistle for a foul. And also in Liberian government, there were people that were government boom. During those time, we have people like Backup Manfield. You can jail him anytime. Almost every political party, I mean, every administration has its own government boom. You look at during Taylor, Tiawan, Gonglo, Musa Ability, they were the government boom. The government can eat there anytime, nothing happens. Then government low. And government low refers to when we're playing as small children, you put something on somebody's head, we say government low because government used to take their loan. And then government gray. Government gray means when you're in school and you score nothing, they give you 50 free. So understanding the government of Liberia, we understood it by government boom, meaning abusing people, government load, meaning enslaving people to do things for you free without people. And then government gray, giving free things. Anything for government is free. So this, in what I wrote in 2008, and I still stand by that, that's how we understood government, and that's how government related to us. So we as children, we use this thing because that's how we understood government. That's how government related to us. Why is it then that our faith is in government so much instead of, as Alex said, building this institution? Why can't you set up the Liberian Psychology Association to be able to carry on changes that you want and let Liberians divert their thinking from expecting so much from government boom, government low, and government gray, and coming to you instead? That's my point, and that's where I want the thinking to be.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jah. If you've listened to me over maybe 1 year ago or so forth, or a couple of months, you will see that there are two major assertions I always make when I open my statements. One of them is, the very first one is, Liberian people are the most important people on earth. You see, you don't get to understand your importance by people telling you that you are important. You get to understand it, first of all, when you know that you are important. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say the government boom, government low that you talked about, it was not the people that introduced those saying to themselves. It was the government that made them feel that that's who they are. So you know what? It became a perception that they accepted over the years, and they decided to live with it consciously.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. So what they have done to our people is they have not educated our people enough for them to know that, no, I am not government's boom. How about we switch this thing around, that the government answers me. I don't answer to the government because I elected the government. That's what our Constitution says. I mean, Article 1. But here's the thing, though. Here's what's important. We talked about Blamo Nelson just a few minutes ago. When we talked about Blamo Nelson, what ran to mind was this. Why did Blamo Nelson introduce that particular issue to the country, yet it did not replicate or it was not maintained to be carried on. The question that runs to mind is either Blamo Nelson did not train other people to keep up with it, which America will do. That's why, if you see in America today, you will hear the baby boomers term in nursing. They will tell you baby boomers. What it means is the people who came in during World War, the people who were nurses. Now you see them replicating. The government created avenue for them to replicate nurses, to reproduce nurses that will in terms be in line to take over the older nurses that are there. So you see, it became a system that was introduced by one person, but the people pick up on it. But Blamo Nelson, I believe probably the environment was not created for him to be able to train other people or educate them. So it comes back to what I said earlier on. Liberian people are the most important people, and Liberian people got to understand that they are the most important people. So they have to start treating themselves as the most important people for them to get what they need from this government, not the government telling them what they need. Because if it left with the government for you, I want you to re-elect me. So you know what I will do? Few months to election, I will bring you 1 cup of rice. When a few days to election, I will bring you another cup of rice. Then when you vote for me, I will give you 2 more cup of rice. So you know what I've done? I have cornered you. So in a nutshell, we need to start off by educating our people. And we need the government to create the avenue. So what am I trying to say? All these things we're talking on Facebook, all these innovations or whatever it is, we can sit here and give all these beautiful ideas. The government will have to. It is imperative that the government works with us to bring these ideas, and they should not feel intimidated by Liberians who are abroad or who are in Liberia, who know the subject matter. Bring them on board so that they can make this thing happen. Let's educate our people first.
Okay, that is Mr. Pole, I just got to ask you a question. What if the government doesn't do that as they have not done that?
Very good. And you see, that's where the problem is.
Okay, how do you solve that problem then?
Well, I've heard many people say, well, let's create private this, let's create private that. The government has also the power and the ability to step on private and non-private as well. So what do we do as a people? We continue this advocacy, educating our people via the internet, exposure. We continue to educate them, remind them, so that they themselves.
All due respect, we've been doing that since what, 1979? We've been doing all of this, and we're still the same place. Let's come for new ideas. It's not working.
So let me end what I was saying. Let me end what I was saying, and then we'll get to that what you just said. Here is the truth, my brother. You can't say we've been doing this since 1979, because in 1979 there was no internet. So that means my grandma, who is in Lofa County, probably did not have Facebook or did not have the means to listen, and she didn't have money to get radio, so she did not get the message. But here's the thing though, thank God we're in the 21st century, where we have the ability, you and I can sit down on our private phone when we leave, focus on Liberia, and communicate with our people, educate them that they are the most important people and their voices are powerful. So that means this coming election, if your senator have not been doing the right thing, and your senator has not been educating you, your senator has not provided education for your children or the means to facilitate education, they have not spoken on behalf of you guys in that county or in that place, guess what? Don't vote that senator in. Vote somebody that is in your interest. So
and that's what I have a serious problem with. I mean, all due respect, I have a serious problem because it's still using the same old system to expect a different result.
Alex, before you continue, you were wrong when you said it started 1979.
I know before, but I'll just be like,
before that.
Right, I agree.
We saw when Tudmore, a group, beat Coma to death.
Yep.
We saw even prior to that what happened. So that has been the case. So
we've been doing it.
How do we make the government insignificant? Why if we sit home and we don't go vote and the entire election, 2% voting? What can we do?
That's precisely what I'm advocating. What I'm saying here is when you go and vote and go in a political party, Dennis, right? What you're doing is you're participating in a fraudulent system. Okay, you are part of the problem because if you think that the system is broken, you don't go and participate in it with the hope of you winning. That's my point.
So from what I'm hearing from you, Mr. My brother Alex, is this.
Yes, yeah.
So are you trying, so in order for us to get rid of the government, it's a bigger process though. We have to get rid of the constitution or rewrite the constitution. Because the government, truly speaking, the government is established to back up or to corroborate or to support the constitution, to prove the constitution right. That's what government is set up to some extent. Our constitution. So if you are telling us today that we should get rid of the president or the vice president and get rid of this,
I think you're missing the point. What I'm trying to say, all right? The government is not listening to you. They've never listened to you. They're never going to listen to you. The political system from which you elect government is fraudulent. So you're always going to get people in government, whether in the House of Representatives, whether on the judges' benches, that are only there because of political reason. So the system is broken, right? So if I want to change that system, it's like Martin Luther King in 1960 saying, okay, I'm going to go join the Kennedy administration. When he is saying that the government is racist, you need to pass new laws. So what did Martin Luther King do? He boycotted the whole United States government. And he criticized the whole government. He didn't go run for office in Alabama and say, okay, when I get into Congress, then I will pass laws. What did Gandhi do? Gandhi did not join the British and say, okay, you know what? The British offered him position. He turned it down. He said, because this is a corrupt system. So when you go and join a political party, or when you start a political party that you know very well the corruption, the whole election process, right? You're just as corrupt as the system itself. You're participating in the corruption. But if you stay home and boycott the whole, if all Liberians were to say, you know what, nobody voting, nobody going to election anymore, right? Until we change the system, until we set the rules. What are countries have done that? Until we set the rules, right? Until we rewrite a constitution, we set up institution, right? We set a committee. Again, the working group is here, the other groups, that come up with a framework of a constitution that would not be one that would be fraudulent, right? But you want win election, you want to be senator, so you ignore that process, right? You want to jump behind a political candidate because he wants to be president, so you ignore that process, right? Then when you don't win the election, then you come out and say the government is corrupt. You have a problem.
Alex, let me bring Dr. Kula in. Dr. Kula, even the constitution that we think we should all protect was written by the government. And I heard people say, take for instance the latest protest by the COP. The COP initially said the government is incompetent, you are not doing jack, we want you to step down. Then in the middle of it, they say, well, fire your police director or change this person. The same guy who's incompetent, you're saying, the same guy who's not doing jack, if he replaces that police director, who you think you're going to put there? If you think the current police director is corrupt, the system is dysfunctional, he will replace it with another corrupt person. So what's your point? So how are you going to win? Either way, you can't win with it. In other words, what Alex is saying is, if you participate in the same corrupt system and you are handed a corrupt result, you just have to live with it. Because you bought into the system and you wanted to win, you too wanted to win by hope, and now you lost and you are complaining. Your take, Dr. Kula.
My take is simply this. What you guys are proposing is very radical, and Liberians are not going to go back to sitting at a table and rewriting the Constitution and having an interim government system or any of that stuff. So for me, I think we need to try to be as realistic as possible and find a way of accomplishing what you guys are trying to accomplish, at the same time leaving our structures in place so that we don't disrupt the system and create a system of a failed state again. Now, what do I propose that we do? I propose that, and what I thought Ellen Johnson Sirleaf would have done in her 12 years, to me, in 2005 was a starting point for what Alex and you are talking about. When we had all those Akasomo Accords and the actual process that brought Taylor to power, that was when we should have done what you guys are talking about. But at this stage in our nation's life, I don't think the nation as a whole, if you were to even do a survey, you wouldn't have many people looking at it from your perspective. Yes, we need to change the system. Yes, we need to change our constitution. Yes, we need some referendums to make certain things right. But to shake things up and take us backwards, and that's how people look at it, take us backwards to sitting down at a table and making arrangements here and there. Nobody wants to do that. So what do I propose? I propose that focus on Liberia, um, start what we said we were going to start, a think tank, because Liberia has no think tank. Okay, work along with the governance commission, because the governance commission is the commission that's writing different laws and writing different policies to decentralize the government, to make the constitution work, to do things that we're trying to do to make our country work for everybody. So I would propose we put together this think tank, work along with the governance commission, and to institute certain things. I will also propose that at the grassroots, at the basic level, at the ground level, if you were to look at our society, I think it all begins with the family. It all begins with our families and we as individuals in those families. Our system and our government is a reflection of Liberians. Like, the government is not a brick building. It's not a name of a particular group or a particular branch. The government is made up of people who were born into families who passed on certain values to them that they're now living out in the world, in society. So at the core, at the basic core of our societies, our families are very corrupt, and what we're passing on from one generation to another is bad governance. It's a way of looking at ourselves and our people and our governance systems that's not compatible with democracy. That's not compatible with good governance. So we need to change our family structures. We need to change the way our teachers teach our students, the way our students relate to their teachers, to their parents, to their government, and the way our families, our fathers and mothers relate to their children, and some of the values that they pass on to the children. I think that's where it is. That's where we need to go.
And Dr. Kula, I strongly disagree with what you're saying, because having good family in Liberia, yes, it makes a difference on the macro level in terms of your community, but micro level in terms of your family structure or what have you, and that's what people have been doing. So what you do is you come from a good family, you get your kids and your family out of the heck out of Liberia, you send them to good schools in America, and these same people go back to Liberia and they take high-end jobs and they build houses and mansions. So that system doesn't work. What I'm trying to say here is everything that you guys are proposing, right, is through that government. If you talk about good schools, right, how are you going to build good schools when you're saying that the government is corrupt, the government is incompetent? Who's going to fund the schools? Who's going to hire the teachers and the ministers to run that department? So it's like, it's counterintuitive. What you're saying here is,
Alex, what I'm saying here is exactly what I'm saying is opposite from what you just said. Okay. I don't expect people from good families to take their kids and send them to America, to good schools in America, and then their kids go back and run institutions there and be big money. That's the problem. Okay. I'm saying let's change that.
Well,
I'm saying that people.
Okay, that's somebody's.
Listen, Alex, I'm saying change that value system. I'm saying
values,
people,
morals. You cannot legislate morals. You
I'm
cannot
not
tell
legislative. I'm not saying legislative.
Okay, but how are you going to change, Dr. Kula? How are you going to take a whole country of 5 million people and tell them what it is, what they should value, how they should raise their children? Please tell me. Yeah.
Alex, did America legislate? Did America legislate values? No, America didn't legislate values, but America has a certain system that they all
agree upon. It's a government structure, and that system is because of the government.
Not only because of the government, it's because of the families too. It's because of the values. So
are you saying that morally? Let's go there. Are you saying morally that people in America are more moral or have better family values than people in Liberia? You can't disagree with you.
I'm saying, guys, listen to me. You're mixing this thing up. I'm saying that as a nation, what they value and what they have agreed upon as a nation, as the way their country is going to be run, is going to be run on certain principles that they all agree upon, that they are going to institute. That if if you violate the law, whether you big man or you small man, you're going to be punished equally, so that the system does not fall apart. They've agreed upon that, and we as a nation have to agree upon certain values that will make our nation a better nation. And until we do that, all this stuff we're talking is for naught.
Dr. Kula, you are mixing two things, but I want to go to a caller on the line. You are saying
no, I'm mixing a lot of things. Mixing a lot of things. We cannot look at one thing. You guys want us to just destroy the whole system and start all over again.
Don't use that language. Dr. Kula, hold on. I come from an IT background. We are not afraid to throw away an entire system and start from scratch.
But nobody's going to do that. Realistically, nobody's going to do that right now in Liberia from where we come from.
You are worried about the process. Don't worry about
from where we have come from. Nobody is going to sit there and say, let's start from scratch again. Nobody's going to do that.
But that's not what I'm proposing.
But you
see, the point is that
hold on, Alex. I want to tell Dr. Kula is we are not saying what people are going to accept or what people are going to be comfortable with. But
what are you saying? Let me propose something that's not realistic, that cannot be implemented.
No,
let's go with the think tank. Let's go with the think tank and these ideas that you have. Let's propose them within the think tank and force the governance commission and other structures, private and public, to institute certain things. That's what I'm saying.
That's a fair point.
Let's do something that works.
That's a fair point.
Let's not just put out theory that's not going to work. Nobody's going to start the whole Liberia system from scratch. Nobody's going to do that.
Okay, hold on. Let me bring in a caller. What I was saying is, without think tank or whatever, you will come to the point of implementation. And at the end of the day, you're going to give this to the almighty government to implement. The TRC tried that, it didn't work. A lot of people tried that, it didn't work. But let me bring in a caller.
The process is still in the process of working. Right now, I just saw where the Independent National Human Rights Commission came out and talked about certain things that they're doing that the TRC proposed, which was building monuments. Okay, that's part of it. They have the Palava Hut system. They talk about reparations and all kinds of stuff.
All right. Let me bring in George Toto into the conversation. Chairman Toto.
Yep. Thank you. The conversation that is so interesting and hard.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to address some of the statements concerning the issue about Labo dancing right after the war. The
self-program.
I'm happy to work with self.
We were taking the rest.
Yeah, the World Food Program, and we were trained. We the ones that have Baptist and nobody most of the horses in the Morovia area, most especially to my own location in the heavy Lagbasi area, with nobody on the system. And it was a unique system that was set up in a way that it will have a reinforcement government, the Ministry of Post Affairs or Telecommunications will take over the whole process, because it was a unique process to carry on. Every local community have a numbering system with letter attached to the houses. But the program died when the WFP suspended the ration. And then the previous interim government that came in, that found out the system just died right there. But Blabo Nancy did a very good job to introduce that policy to us. That the other corner said that private people that tree were tree. So coming back, I think the problem we have in Liberia today is the system we have in Liberia. We look up the presidency so much to provide solutions to see how best we can resolve the most of the problem, but it's not just working. We're just discussing the issue about GFA yesterday, or Ashford Garden show, where the lady went there and saw the deplorable condition at GFA. She was even crying, making some of the report. And the medical director of the GFA, yes, a gentleman we know very well, well-educated, and he came from other side, he went there. But why is it that he's not just working? And the same crowd was there during early time. So I think, like Alex was saying, I think we need to go back to the drawing board. And then I want to eradicate all the system correctly, but I think we need to start from scratch one, to be fair. Because I think what we have to the process, it's not just working at all.
Tell me how we're going to start from scratch. Tell me how. How are we going to start from scratch?
I can answer that question, Dr. Kula.
Hold on, let Toto finish, and then We can bring you another caller
Yeah,
before you come in.
one of the ways we can start for Dr. Kula is we, the citizens, we can call for a serious referendum or to rewrite our constitution.
Absolutely.
In the 1986 constitution.
Oh,
Excellent point.
Okay, that sounds great.
okay.
That sounds wonderful.
Okay.
Let's start for a referendum to rewrite the Constitution.
Dennis, can I just come in to add to that?
You know, Dr. Kula will not give me a chance.
But Dr. Kula did not give everybody a chance today.
Yeah,
Your point.
Steve, I want Steve to come in first before you, Alex.
Yes. I'm listening here, and I think I would have to side with Dr. Kula by saying that we are going to create more problems for ourselves than we can handle with chew on a lot. Let me say why. You guys are saying for us to rewrite the Constitution, but that's a great thing. Then that contradicts Alex's point that we need to get rid of government, because who's going to rewrite the Constitution?
Okay, I never said get rid of government.
Alex didn't say that.
So I'm paraphrasing what he said earlier on. In us, because he wants the entire system. Like you use the analogy about in IT, you can throw away everything and rebuild it or whatever now.
I said it, not Alex.
No, I'm saying Mr. Ja. So here's my point. We shouldn't try to reinvent this wheel when we already have the wheel. This is what I would suggest. Mr. Ja made a beautiful point earlier on when he suggested, why can't we have a system of the APA that will hold psychologists or people accountable? Why can't we introduce that standard that will hold? Now, let me say one of the things that we are missing out on. I think one of the things we are missing out on, based on what the caller said, and that, they were trained. But you see, it comes back to government, or the government prioritizing what they want to prioritize and not providing the funds or the environment to keep setting standards or setting things, systems that were put in place. So let's take, for example, when the George led government came in place, all these little check and balance systems that Ellen introduced to some extent, guess what happened? The first thing they started to do is they started to break it down. So what that tells you is we are a problem to ourselves. So my suggestion here is this. We can work with the system, with the structure that we have. We have to introduce standards and system and put system in place that will maintain it. Because why is Donald Trump going for impeachment right now? Why? The reason Donald Trump is going for impeachment is because Donald Trump wants to go against the system that has been set up. He wants to introduce something new that is not the norm as compared to the norm that they have been living in this country. So it becomes a problem. So Liberia is what we can do instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. Yes, it is true that part of the Constitution needs to be amended.
What does reinventing the wheel mean?
Reinventing the wheel mean what you guys are saying. I've heard Alex a couple of times. Let me state exactly what Alex's point is here, because I wrote it down. Alex is trying to declare that not only that we decentralize, which is a good idea, but the whole issue of president and vice president should be taken away. It should be abolished. It should go away.
For today's discussion, we didn't get that far yet.
No. And that's where this problem is, because we keep trying to create problems for ourselves instead of working on what is there, make it better, set standards, set a system that will hold these things in place. Even when we are long gone, our children, grandchildren will come and follow in the same trajectory and build on what we've already built on.
That is not working, Mr. Bole. We've tried that for 172 years.
You can't say it's not working. You can't say it's not working. You can't say it's not working. No. You can't say it's not working, because you know what? Elections have worked. But you know why? You know what the problem is? You know what the problem is? When you get people that are not educated to understand their rights. You get not educated, adequate to understand the right. Listen, let's be very frank here. The Liberian people made a decision that we all are paying for today. We elected a president.
So your argument here is that
first we should go back to the drawing board and educate our people. My argument is we should educate our people. That is my argument. Let's educate our people.
So let me ask a question, because I think you guys are not asking questions. One, and you're making my own assertion. I came up with an idea or new innovative ideas. Correct? You haven't given me the opportunity to present my idea. You're assuming what my idea is. Okay, so So when you're ready for me to give you what I'm thinking.
Give us an idea, Alex.
Hold on. I want to bring in a caller. If you can, let me bring in one more caller, then you can get to it. Because we didn't get to it, we were just laying the premise, and we're going to come up with the ideas. But I reject the notion that
Actually, hear that idea.
yeah. Or no government is willing in Liberia, specifically our Liberian government. No government is willing to say, all this good thing, all the power that is given to me, I'm going to give it back to the people. It has not happened. And I don't see it happening anytime soon. Our constitution and the system we have put in place call for election and electing people. There is no data that tell us that the more educated, or if all Liberians got master's degree, the political structure will be right. They were going to vote right. They're going to do everything right so that we can have a functioning system.
Dennis, please give us the idea, please. We want to hear the idea.
Okay, so gentlemen.
That's why, yeah, let me bring in this caller to bring his idea. My idea will be last. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Hey, Ja.
Yes, sir.
It's Armstrong Jabba. Calling from Louisiana, Baton Rouge.
Welcome to Focus on Liberia. What's your take?
Well, thank you very much. I want you guys to listen. We all were born in Liberia. I was born right there in Liberia. I grew up in Yucatan and Westport. The rough areas you can think about.
Don't make that statement.
Something I want you guys to get, and you will understand what you are discussing. I was born right there. I live in Yucatan. I live in West Point. I was there in Liberia from the beginning of the war to the end of the war. I saw everything. When our politicians give those children guns and drugs, and Prince Johnson left the children on the street, I was doing my little business. I decided to take my business money to open a drugs abuse program, the first drugs abuse program in Yucatan, 1993. I went and visited the children from house to house, 3 days a week, telling them about the harmful use of drugs to rehabilitate them, using my own business money. Why? Because I know that they are Liberians and their lives are important. They are citizens of Liberia. So therefore, the money that belonged to me that I worked for, I took it to take care of them.
Okay.
I started the first drugs abuse program in Yucatan, 1993.
Agree.
I prayed to God. I said, God, if you can help me and go to the U.S., I will learn whatever I can to rescue my people from poverty, from suffering, whatever I can. I came to the U.S., I learned how to build homes, how to grow food, everything that our people need, the most important things they need. That's why I focused my whole life in the U.S. learning. Why? Because I believe our people deserve better.
Okay. Well,
so therefore, I work hard in the U.S. 7 days a week. I will soon finish 7 days a week. I send 90% of my income to Liberia to help poor people. I take 10% to take care of me and my family in the U.S. Look, let me tell you guys something. You can talk all you want. You can put together the right policy. You can have the right system. It takes the mind, the discipline of the mind. You have to be, leadership requires discipline and experience. Discipline and experience. You can have the right system, everything right. If we don't have people who are disciplined, people who value themselves, people who believe that the people deserve better, if you don't have the kind of people in power, the system will sit right there and they will carry out nonsense, stupidity, foolishness, because they don't value the life of the people. You need people who will place the interests of the people above their personal interests. That's what you call leadership. And that's when things start to happen. That's when things start to happen. Right? I said in the U.S., I never traveled to Liberia for more than 20 some more years, almost 30 years. But I sit right in the U.S. Right now, as I speak to you, we have pepper problem in Liberia. I solved that pepper problem within a few months. I made the larger pepper farm in Liberia to supply the people. 2 weeks time, I'll be starting the larger rice farm in Liberia because I know my people need food.
Okay.
I'm not doing it to get money to get rich, but because I love my country and I love my people. Leadership has to do with discipline.
Thank you,
You
Mr.
got to
Gavin.
have disciplined people. People who will not just waste the country money. Think about the people.
Thank you.
You can have the best system if they will not work if you have foolish people. You need disciplined people. People with experience, who know the job, who know what to do.
Thank you, Mr. Jabba. Let me bring you another caller. Thank you. Okay, let me bring in one more caller before you come, Alex. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Constance Gordon.
Mrs. Dwopo, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Question or comment?
Comment.
Go ahead.
And thank you first of all, but I think you've been a little bit focused on the men. I've been on the line forever. But let me go back to speak.
Let me correct that.
I am for.
Let me correct that. I look at the time. You are here for 18 minutes. Armstrong, who just talked, is 22 minutes. So I go by the length of time. And then the next person is Kesley, 20 minutes. So go ahead.
So I was in and out. But anyway, I listened to both of the speakers and like how they call him?
Kula.
Stephen, for Stephen, I think Stephen is saying the right thing. I go with Stevie. I will buttress his idea, and I will give you example. Okay. I understand the system in Liberia has lots of problems, but Liberian people are able to abide by rules and regulations. If you balance it and attack and say consequences versus your actions, and I will give you an example. I'm not a big fan like the way Mary Broad did the city corporation, but people, even in the market, were able to follow the rules. That first Saturday, you go inside because there were consequences. So if you have a leader that now we got a government in place, they are doing their best. But if I'm in that position, I will find maybe 3 persons first to sell the idea to, or people marching consequences to the action be it anywhere. Mm-hmm. And once you got people that buy that idea, that are able to articulate that idea to the people, even in the schools, Liberian will be able to follow. Why I say that you in America, you can abide by the laws and rules here, but when people go to Liberia, that live in this country, when they go to Liberia, they start breaking the rules. Number one, they know that the system is broken. People do not follow the law. Even those of you that try to follow the law, the people will think you're not serious. You're wasting your time. I will give you another example. I sent money to Liberia 1 month ago. The lady at the bank took some of my money and told my brother that I did not send that amount. Mm-hmm. When I found out, I decided to go to the bottom of it. And I made sure I got the manager involved. The manager was trying to play trick, trying to cover up. I got to the root of it. My brothers called me that they knew the woman. Government people are stealing millions. What's wrong with somebody just taking even $20 or $10? I said, it's not about it. It's the fact that she told the person that I did not send that amount of money.
So, Constant.
So for me, we can save the system. The system can be saved. You just need people to implement.
Constant, there's nobody.
Yes.
Okay, let me ask this way: the government is the one that's supposed to enforce the law. So if the government is enforcing the law, and the way I understood government as a child was through government boom, government gray, government low. So for me, government has never worked anything in my favor, and I'm not expecting them to do anything very soon. So if government is supposed to enforce and government is not enforcing the law correctly, what do we do?
Okay, if you consultize your people, like I made sure that lady gave that money back. Yeah. So if you say you have police officer on the street and the people are informed that a police officer is not supposed to take a bribe, and you consultize few people, the people that are going to protest, but not to protest the issue, you consultize, they will say few persons, and you can prove and you can see that our policemen taking bribe. Maybe the citizens can come against that. And once 2 or 3 policemen know that they are being exposed and not just easily, but there are consequences to that action, that it will change. It will surely change.
So Constance, There was one guy who just conscientized maybe about 50,000 people. His name is Henry Costa. How do you reconcile the conscientizing Henry Costa did and the conscientizing you are advising people to conscientize to go against the police person?
No, I'm not saying they should go against the police.
No, I mean,
like someone took my money, I follow the steps.
Yeah, you say we should
That's what
conscientize the people.
Costa is doing. Costa is after power.
No,
Costa
what I'm
is
saying,
not
hold on one second. You are saying we should conscientize the people so that they know what the police does the right thing. So I'm giving you an example. Henry Costa just conscientized about 50,000 people to tell the government to do the right thing. How do you reconcile the two?
No, that's what I'm trying to say. He was inciting people. He was
That's the
inciting
problem,
people.
because
If
it
I
depends
know
on
a
what you
police
say.
officer took
You
money
can
from
say
me,
one is
I
inciting,
will go
the other
and
one is
make sure and
conscientizing.
follow the chain of command. I will follow the chain of command.
Okay.
I will speak and make sure that police officer is asking face to face. But people are lazy. Again, people don't want to follow through. People just give up.
All right.
And when you talk about change is a process. It's not something you just get on a silver platter. And someone was saying maybe revolution. We had a revolution, it did not change. And people just kill. So we got to find a different way, and the different way is of going through the process, the due process.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go to my panel before I go to the next caller. Kesali Double, please stand by. Let me go to my panel. Dr. Kula.
I think you're coming to me before Dr. Kula.
Give it to Alex. We want to hear what this process is. Want to hear it.
Okay, Alex,
right.
Go ahead.
First of all, thank you for allowing me to give my ideas. First and foremost, the name of this show is innovation. Okay, the only purpose of this show is to think of something outside the box. So if you came here and you say you want to participate in the show or the discussion or ask questions, and you're still going back to what's not working, you're on the wrong show. Okay, the idea here is that we all agree that our system does not work socially for our people. Our system does not work politically for our people. Our system does not work economically for our people. We all agree to that. Okay, the question now is, since that particular system, there are dozens of different forms of government. Okay, there's not one government in every country. There's not one kind of government. The federalism, there is a confederation. Okay, there is a representative democracy. All right, there's different forms. Why does Liberian feel that the one that you have that's not working is the only one? That's the first problem we have. We don't want to think outside the box. We don't want to look at anywhere else except for what people gave us in 1847 and 1983 by a bunch of corrupt politicians. And now we hold our system like the Bible. If you go online, if you read in a book about governments, they will tell you there are different kinds of government. And governments are structured based on what the intention, based on what they want to achieve. So the Japanese government, right, when they designed after the revolution, they said, look, we had a problem with imperialism. We have an emperor. We don't want to get rid of the emperor, but we want to also have a form of democracy. So they sat down, all right, and they got together and they created a hybrid system. The Chinese came up with their own system after the Cultural Revolution, all right? Russia Confederacy. The French Revolution came up with its own form of government. The government you have in America today, that was a new invention. That was an experiment. Okay, so if people are going to keep talking about something that doesn't work, it's a waste of our time. Then just go and keep voting in election and hoping for the Messiah who's going to be president and have all of the powers to appoint even the sheriff, the sweeper, the judges, and hope that that person somehow now is going to relinquish his or her power. That's what we're doing. So the point I'm trying to say here is this. All right, if our system is not working, what are some other systems we can look at and how do we get there? Did I say just go tomorrow and destroy the whole system? No. Okay. Some of you work in technology, some of you work in medicine, some of you work in engineering. Okay, when you let's use engineering for example. Okay, when you have a bridge and you say, okay, this bridge is collapsing, it can't carry the number of people, right? You don't just go out and tear the bridge down while cars are on it, right? You first of all, you create a conduit, a detour, right? So some people can start using that, or you create one lane while you fix the other lane. So it would be very foolish for me to say, oh, tomorrow go there, abolish the presidency or abolish everything in Liberia. The point that we're making here is, we, instead of running behind political ideas and campaigning, right, for the very system that we despise, let us start focusing on those other systems, one of which that I'm proposing, I'm saying, use a confederacy. Okay, use or which means that's what Germany uses, that's what Switzerland uses. It's not that difficult, all right, and it's not that complex. Or you can say, all right, maybe the first year we start by the counties electing their own superintendents, right? You start with the first year. The second years, you could say all mayors in Liberia have to be elected, okay? The third ones now, you could say, all right, instead of having the president run the economy, you say that, all right, we'll set up an economic council that will make all economic decisions in the country. They will be fully represented. They will be staffed by the best and brightest, dealing with the medical and the health field. So when people just jump on an idea, oh, it's not going to work. When we started ATM system in America, the banks just came out one day and said, oh, here's a bank card. Go online and get it. It took phases. I work in technology. You try first phase, second phase, third phase. And at the end of the day, maybe 5 years, you have achieved what you're trying to do. But to say that we shouldn't even think on the idea because it's not popular today, nothing in this world was popular. When the American Revolution started, it was not popular. In fact, people said it would fail. That American democracy would never work. They went to civil war, they still said it would fail. Today, that's the same democracy that you here copy. So
Alex,
while we have our educated
right
politician, why do we have our educated politician, right? Instead of then coming up with a new system and trying to educate the people and say, okay, we agree this system doesn't work. What they're telling you, no, can't vote for me in this very same system and very in process. And that's where I have the greatest condemnation. And that's where some of you who believe in that political structure, you're always going to disagree with me because what? You're hoping that your guy is going to be the one who change the system and make it better. That's the only reason you're arguing.
No, Alex, what you just explained just now makes way more sense than the way you guys were putting it out earlier.
No way. You didn't let me explain my plan. You jumped to conclusion.
Way more sense right now versus the way y'all were coming across earlier. If you ask anybody who listened to the show, the way y'all were coming across was that destroy the whole thing right now because it doesn't
Nobody
work.
Said destroy Dr. Kula. Or I said that the problem with us is
Steve
sometimes
right there. The
we jump the
psychologist
gun.
right there, you were listening.
Okay, Alex, wait.
That's how it came across. Ask anybody that calls into the show. That's how it came across.
Dr. Kula.
So
yes.
What is in my hand here is a jump drive, right? And it's about 56 gig, right? It's huge. Okay. When I first came in this country, we're using a floppy disk, and it's 1.5 meg. By the time you save 3 files on it, it's full. Okay. I think your solution to that would be let's make the floppy disk bigger.
Yeah.
No.
But now we have a jump drive. Now we are. Well, hold on. Now we are saving on the.
I'm not gonna hold on. Because Dennis, what you're doing right now is not fair. It's not fair at all.
Okay.
You're reading what I stated earlier very wrongly. The way y'all came across is not the way that Alex just explained things.
So let me explain.
Listen.
Well, let me explain my case. Listen one second. I didn't end my case and interrupt us.
Listen one second. Dennis, please.
Okay.
What I even said we have a think tank right now. Let's use this process as a think tank to pass some of these ideas into the governance commission and go step by step so that we can get these changes done. Okay? What Alex is saying right now is in line with what I said earlier. So to come here and tell me, we used to use floppy disk, and I would have said, let's make the floppy disk big. No, that's not what I said.
Okay.
That's not what I said. I said the way you were coming across, that we should destroy everything at one time, start all over. The people were not going to agree to that. But what Alex is saying right now makes sense, and it's in line with what me and Steve are saying. It's in line with what we were saying.
Okay, so Dr. Kula, yes, I disagree with you also, okay?
All it is.
Well, I disagree with you because I think, again, this is a big process. And I think it's not something that I can surmise in a few paragraphs or a few statements. So you're going to continue to have to ask questions and continue to, as the show progresses, you will see more details on what I'm proposing. So don't jump to any, nobody should jump to any conclusion. Alex has sat down. Hold on now. Hang on here. Alex has sat down.
That's I didn't end, and you.
But let me finish my point again.
Because if you think that I would sit here and believe that we shouldn't innovate and that we should take a floppy disk and make it bigger instead of getting jump drives,
that's between you and Dennis.
You don't understand anything I said.
Okay, no, that's with you and Dennis. But let me just say something.
I could finish it. I could land my thought.
No, I think let's drop that because I think the good old dark feel that. That's really out of context. No. And I agree with him. But here's what I'm trying to say, Dennis.
No, it's not.
Dennis, here's what I'm trying to say here. Okay. Our culture, again, because of the low sophistication, we don't have a think tank in Liberia that I know of. With all our educated people, all our PhDs, all our doctors. Well, hold on. Okay, we never had one. Okay. Today, we have one, which I'm proud to say you're a member of, okay? All right? So we're starting a process. But let me be very clear. We didn't have a means of engaging the public before, focus on Liberia in this fashion. Today, thanks to Mr. Jai and others, we have one. So when Liberians saying that, oh, you guys not doing anything in America, not because we're not running our mouths or we're not in protest or we're not insulting this person or that person. I'd rather take my time and work on things that I believe that in the long run will have a better result than just going to a party and say, oh, elect me tomorrow. Okay. So, but one last point I want to make here, that the point of having this show, and I had to, kind of fight with Dennis and say, look, we need a forum where we can engage the public. So they can be a part of that process. As we think on new ideas, we bring it up to them. So when I say something like abolish the presidency, right? That's a big statement. What does that mean? How long it would take? How will I do it? I can't say it in one show. So you got to keep coming back, right? To get bits and pieces, and the whole plan will be laid out to you like an architect that shows you a picture, and then you see the house after it's constructed. So don't take one word or one paragraph. It will serve you better. Just ask the question. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Let me bring in Mr. Kesali Dobo before Steve come in. And Mr. Dobo, you are live.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Jai, and good evening to your panelists. And I want to say thank you again for bringing me on your show. And Alex, I would love to say thank you very much for this topic.
Thank you, welcome.
But before I go far, I want you to know that why it is true that we appreciate you for bringing this topic, but this topic is a broad topic. You don't expect to be the only one to bring about wisdom on this topic because you initiated it. That's the reason why I think you are bringing on panelists to be able to give their point.
Exactly.
That's the reason why you got to even align us as scholars to be able to give our point so that you can put these ideas that we'll bring to the table together to expand on your topic that you initiated.
That's the
It's
point.
a big topic. And my advice to all of the panelists will be that this topic is very important. This topic will lead to a very good growth in our political setting for Liberia as a whole. So what I would advise to the panelists is that please, I'm kindly appealing to every one of us. Let us leave out political sentiment. Let's speak as we are one group of people, Liberians, not political parties. Please, if we can do that, and with the idea and thing we'll bring to the table, I think it can help to move the identical topic forward, and it will make it broad. And having said that, I would want to agree with one of the panelists in studio, especially that is Steve Bowley. You know, our problem in Liberia, Mr. Jai, like I have always told you on this show, is education. This topic is not a short-term thing. This is a technical topic. This topic cannot be done in 1 year, cannot be done in 2 years, cannot even be done in 3 years. This is a long-term build for Liberia. If we have to expand it, it's a long-term process. Now, I want to buttress Steve when he said education. I agree with Ellis when he said we should print a new constitution. That's a very good idea, a brilliant idea. But then, Ellis, if we do print this constitution, who do we expect to know the constitution? I would advise that printing the constitution is one thing, but reintroducing the constitution into our educational system should be another thing.
I agree.
Because if you just print the constitution and the people all that don't know the constitution is going to be like the same constitution we're having right now. We can print the constitution, but let us introduce the constitution into our schools.
Mr. Double.
In a way that the students, yes, sir.
Right. I was born in the village. My mom did not go to school. My father had a second grade education. But the problem that we have today did not come from them. It came from the people that could read and understand the Constitution. What do you say to that?
Then I come back to you again. The judges of the 21st century. There is no way we can do anything and live out the Constitution. You just listen to Ellis. Before we know how to have computers, we know how to have Facebook, where people used to be in the village and listen to us. But now it's happening. Before you used to stay in America, you would send message or mails to people in Monrovia. They would carry mails all the way in the interior to the people. But now you can stay right here and talk to your mom in the village.
I mean, the corruption is coming from the book people.
So I agree with you. Both people would never for things. We always try to fix things. In the process of fixing things, so that we damage it. Both people's intention are not to spoil things, never. The essence of education is never to spoil. If we're to spoil things, we will not be telling our children to go to school. We, our very self, will not be acquiring higher education. The essence of education is to fix things. But sometimes in helping to fix this thing, we intend to spoil it. That doesn't mean that our intention was actually spoiling. We intended to fix it. But in the process of fixing it, we spoil it. Okay? So education, like he said, should be one of the major things we should focus on. Introduce the Constitution back into the schools, let our people go on to it. Environment. You said innovation. Innovation cannot work in a damping environment. No matter how good your innovation is, if you do not have a good environment to work with, it will not work. So then we'll come back into the government. There is no way you can have a good innovation when you do not have the government to create an environment for you to work in. We still need the government to allow our innovation, no matter how decent it is, no matter how good it is, we still need the government to work along with to create a path for our innovation to go through. If we do not have that government that will help us to do it, it will be useless. No matter how good your innovation is, it will not work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Government have to create a path to allow your innovation that you have to work. Other than that, I mean, everything that we are saying will be useless.
Look.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And here is my point. Thank you
for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll bring in our last caller very soon. But here is my point. I use the analogy of the floppy disk and the Alex said I shouldn't talk about floppy disk again.
No,
but here is the point. I want for us to turn our attention, because the government has not worked and is not going to work anytime soon. If we believe that, if that's the only place we are looking. What I'm saying is, let's redirect our minds. If you know that, and this is an example. At the beginning, at every election cycle, let's say we have 10 persons rising up and say we want to run for president, and we, the citizens, are forced, or we force ourselves to support them because we think that they're going to bring the much needed salvation that we're looking for. I'm saying, let's redirect our thinking. If we know Steve Bowler is doing something right, let's go behind him instead of a politician. Because these politicians, through their government solutions, has never worked and is not going to work. Let's do our best to make government insignificant as possible. Steve, you are laughing. Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Ja, you know, education has never been our problem. Educated people, they have never been our problem in Liberia. What has been our problem is educated people refusing to educate other people so that other people cannot know what educated people want to do or what they will do. So it becomes a problem. So let's take, for example, the whole issue of Congo and Native. How did it come about? I've heard some Liberians, and I read some books and some stories. They will say, you know, the only way certain people could go to school, if your name were Yakwawolo, you couldn't go to school. But you had to change your name to Johnson or this before you could go to school. So what that tells me, it tells me that only a certain group of people education were good for. Education were not good for a certain group. Now, I've heard also people saying that, you know, education is power. Now, let me add something to that. Education exposes people to power, and you can choose how to use it. That being said, I want to say I agree with my brother Alex that there is a need. I agree with you too, Mr. Ja, that there is a need to hold government accountable. I want to use the word you use. There is a need to make government, to create the environment and meet our needs, because that's what our constitution said. Or how can that be done though if we don't have the information? The reason you and I are sitting on this platform today to be able to say we want to educate our people is because we got this in education. That's what we want to pass down today. If my brother Alex can say he's in this field, Dr. Kula can say he's in that field. The caller that were in the other, or that just called in general can say he's in this other field. We're not born like that. We were educated. We were exposed to this knowledge and the experiences we have today. And that's what we want to bring to our people. So the basis, even if we want to build a house, there must be a foundation. The question here is, it's not about us changing all these things. It's not even about us rushing to introduce the system. Because if we introduce the system and our people don't know about the system, you take, for example, somebody that never used a flush toilet before. If they come from the village and they see that flush toilet, they will have problem using it. You see? So the first thing I will say, and I've said from day one, good ideas. Let's start off with where we miss out on. We did not educate our people enough. We did not provide our people with the adequate information to be able to make informed decisions, to be able to do the things that they're supposed to do today. I think the best thing we can do to start off with Liberia to address some of the problem is to have an equilibrium. Let's introduce education. Let's educate our people.
And Steve, who's going to do that? Because
Very good.
the government has no incentive to do that. So what those with power want to do is to keep you down there so that they will continue to corrupt the system without being questioned.
Very good, very good. And so this is where it becomes a little difficult.
That's what I do. I want to put you in a difficult position.
But here is the thing, though. Here is how we address this process. We have started the process already. The fact that you and I are here educating our people through this medium, and I believe other people will watch this video. The government themselves, they are getting the information. Let me tell you something. The government we speak about today, our present government today, I don't want to believe that they don't want to do the right thing to some extent. I want to believe they are not knowledgeable enough, or they don't have the people that are knowledgeable enough to do the right thing. So even if you want to do the right thing, you might not be able to do it. Let's take, for example, if you take me right now and put me on a plane, I've never been a pilot. I was not trained to ride a plane. I have the willpower. So I really want to land that plane. I've not been trained, or I don't have the education enough to do it. I will not be able to do it. So my point here is, we know that the government has to create the environment. So we now, who have the education, it is our responsibility, first of all, to educate our people on their rights, to be able to vote in the people that will vote in laws, rules, and regulation that will enable the process for them to be able to have what they need.
Okay.
It is not us just jumping the gun. That is my point.
Let me bring in our last caller. Let me bring in. Where are you calling from?
Hey, hello.
Hello, caller, your name and where you calling from?
Hello, folks at Liberia. My name is Dave.
Go ahead, Dave.
My name is Dave Ja, and I would like to just make a few comments. Am I on?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you guys for letting me to make my comment. I think there is some sort of a confusion in this discussion that I'm noticing, because the topic has to do with innovative ideas to move Liberia forward. Okay, and Alex is. I think most of us in Liberia, or most of us agree that there is a problem with our Liberian system. There is a problem that we face in Liberia, definitely, unless somebody who is not looking or who is not paying attention will deny that. There is a structural problem which we need to address, and we haven't really addressed that. Some of my colleagues are talking about education. I don't think those two that are about changing the structure or improving the structure and education, I don't think they are opposed to each other. Before you provide education, you must have something to provide education about. So at every stage of the whole process, you still have to provide education. But right now, what do we do to correct the system? What do we do to improve the system? I think that's where the discussion is. Because at every level, we will provide some sort of education. Okay. I'd like to make also this point here. When the war happened in Liberia, from 1989, what happened? After the rebels struck and we were destroying one another in Liberia, the first thing that Liberians decided to do, or most of our politicians decided to do, was to go to Banjo, to Yamoussoukro, to the Gambia. That was Banjo. Huh? They went there, and what did they come up with? An interim government in Monsoya. If the question was asked, Liberians, why are you slaughtering one another? And Liberians told them, because we want a new government, or we want president. That left out the cold solution for which Liberia has continued to be the way it is. We haven't found out what is it that the people want, what is it that our country wants. So we went every year or every 4 years, 6 years, we go about electing presidents and electing presidents. Yet we haven't solved the problem.
So how we solve the problem?
I agree with my colleagues. I agree with what Alex is also proposing, that we need structural changes in Liberia. We're not going to throw the baby out with the water, but we need real structural changes. And those changes may not be radical ones at once, but they will take time. But let us agree. The think tank that that Dr. Kula proposed, I agree with that. Let us continue to brainstorm, and hopefully maybe that think tank will produce a committee, a group of people that are willing, that are selfless, that are patriotic, that are nationalistic, and we can bring about changes. Too long have our country been this way. So we got to be serious with that, and then the education aspect is going to be ongoing. We will constantly try to provide education, civic education, awareness, whatever you may call it. But there is a need. We cannot educate our people about a structure that is not working. We cannot constantly try to provide education about a system that is broken, that has failed them over the years.
Okay.
That basic education that we need to provide has to do with providing that education that, yes, your government is corrupt, the system has failed you. From 1816 to now, it has failed, and therefore, for your own good, for the sake of this country, we need to make some changes as we go along. That is my point, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. So, Dr. Kula, I want you to come in. So why don't we suspend all this election, this voting, all this thing until we get the system right? Dr. Kula. Because the politicians are not going to do it. They have no incentives. So if you keep voting for them, you get the same result. Steve, how can we make the government insignificant?
Well, you say how can you make the government insignificant?
Yeah, man. They don't
well,
know
I wouldn't use the word insignificant. I will not use that. I will not use the word insignificant. Let me say that because no. I would rather say how can we collaborate?
Less significant.
How can we work with the government?
Yeah, Dennis, I'm on now.
Hello.
Just wait. Let's Steve lands. Then you can go ahead.
I would rather say how can the government work for us and with us? I would rather say that instead of saying making it insignificant, less significant, because then you will be going into a battle too as well. But let me say something that I think is critically important, Mr. Ja, and to everybody that's listening. We are in this country. One of the easiest way for anybody to die is for you to have the first and fastest way for you to die is for you to have heart attack. Another way for you to die while you are still living is for somebody to make decisions for you while you're still alive. But how does that happen though? It happens with the mind. And for some of us who are Christians, one of the ways we can renew our mind is through consistent education, like one of the quarters said. So I will say this to all of us. The first thing with our people, which I will end up on here tonight, we are not in the right psychological mind, especially those of us that came on after the war, because most of our problems, people seem to attribute it later on to after 1980 or around 1980 or whatever now. So you find a population and a generation now that we're dealing with that after 14 years of war, which we have had X amount of time of peace, more than the 14 years, I would say, of peace. Yet people are not still in the right mindset. I would say that the most important things we can do for our people right now is to get them in a stable mindset. Any other thing you want to introduce to them, they can grasp it, they can run with it, they can embrace it, and they can make informed decisions. If we don't get our people mindset right, whether it's through formal education, continual education, or just getting the mind stabilized through mental health treatment or other psychological treatment, we are headed nowhere. Anything we propose, it will not work. That's my argument.
Steve, before you leave.
Yes, sir.
Anytime in the corporate world, when you say we, that's a recipe for nothing being done. So when you say we have to do this, we have to do this, you have to delegate responsibility.
So let me say this. Let me dedicate some responsibility here. When I say we, I'm trying to incorporate all of us as Liberian, because this is a Liberian issue.
Happen.
Right, okay, so
5 million people will never come together and say, let's do this.
Okay, so
never come together, probably.
So let me say this. Let me say this. We who have acquired some form of education, we who have acquired. Okay. Let me. Okay.
Leave it dark.
Okay. Let me put it this way. You're trying to back me, but I will work with you. Let me put it this way, Mr. Job.
With me here.
Okay. Let me put it this way.
Let me think.
I have decided. One of the reasons you see me speaking, I have purpose in my heart and decided that if the government will create the environment for us to educate our people, because you heard what one of the callers said earlier on.
I think government business.
No, here's the thing. We have to include it. That's why I said we got to work with them. So here's one thing the brother said. The brother said he took his hard-earned money to open up a mental health home. That's good. The question is, how long will this continue? How long will he continue with it? So my thing is, I would like to offer my services. I would like to help the Liberian people based on my expertise and my trainings, which is in psychology. I would like to help, and let's work together to help our people, educate them, get them the provided needs, and wants, and let's get them to where they are, because some of us were fortunate to come to this country, and through the efforts of other people in this country, today here we are. We have acquired some education, and I think I'm ready to help to give back to my country. That's what I would say.
Thank you.
I'll
And
leave the
Steve,
we.
and Steve, and thank you so much. And you are already doing it. Every Sunday you come on Focus on Liberia to talk about mental health, mental illness.
Oh, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, sorry, just before I take leave, let me.
So that's what I meant. That's what I meant. I want people to gravitate towards you instead of Benina Ure, for instance, or Alex Cummings, for instance, because these are political leaders. I want them to come to you and want a solution, because people want the psychological state of our people to be addressed. So they come to you, they rally around you, they support you, they send you money, they do GoFundMe for you. That's what I'm looking for.
So, Mr. Judge, just before I leave, I got just to enlighten your people on Sunday, quick, because I'm running away. Quick. First of all, this coming March, between the 14th and the weekend of the 14th, March 14th, we will be in Maryland, DC area, and we'll be having an all diaspora conference. I'm inviting everybody. You're welcome to come on. But most importantly, this coming Sunday, we'll be touching on very important subjects in the area of mental health. We'll be talking about some of the mental health diagnosis that we've heard about and how it applies to Liberians, whether you're in Liberia or not. And so I would encourage all of you to please tune in. We are believing that we're going to have a very good conversation, and our panelists will be here so that we can talk about it. That being said, I say thank you again to Focus on Africa, and thanks to my brother Alex for the invite.
Welcome. Always, anytime.
Look forward to more of the conversation.
Anytime.
Dr. Kula, thank you so much for the input. Thank you.
Sure. Steve, do you know Dr. Francine Richardson?
Yes, very much so.
It would be nice if you could bring her on.
Yes, definitely. We will try to make that connection going here. I will definitely speak to her about it.
Sure. Great.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Dr. Kula?
Yes.
Go ahead. You have the floor.
No, what's your question again? Go back and give me that question real quick.
Oh, okay. There's no
what was your question.
We are winding down, and because what we keep saying here is we have all these brilliant ideas. You talk about a think tank. At the end of the day, we are going to give this think tank proposal to the government, and the government has not really delivered. What's the way?
Not giving it Liberian people, everybody.
No, Dr. Kula said government. So
give it to government. Okay.
Yeah, so right. Dr. Kula.
Dennis, it doesn't have to be one way.
Okay,
if
great.
He says we're giving it to the Liberian people, we can give it to the Liberian people and the government. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive.
Yeah. No, just tell me how
we can do everything. We can put all hands on deck, Dennis. It doesn't have to be one way.
Good.
For example, I'm saying to you that with the ideas that Alex has, we still have a situation wherein our people from the family roots need some help. So we need to do all hands on deck. Get our family and our nation and our people a different paradigm. We need a total paradigm shift.
Yeah.
So all this innovative idea is great, but if we can't change the mindset of our people and give them a paradigm shift, it's all for naught. That's how I look at it.
Please explain paradigm shift with examples.
No, I'm not going to explain paradigm shift.
Why not?
Because I mean, come on, you know what a paradigm shift is. Come on, man. I'm not going to go into all of that.
Okay. So, all right. But Dennis, let me just point out a few things. Tomorrow we're going to be on the Business and Economic Forum, if I can make that pitch, at 3:00, and we'll be discussing the new investment bank that LBDI is in partnership with the Mauritius government or investment bank, Loretta. So Sam Jackson will be in the house. I'll be in the house. George Slopo will be there, and we'll be tearing our whole agreement apart, looking at it. Does it benefit Liberians? I think Sam was on. He was talking about how we don't give our bankers and our professional the opportunity. Whenever there's an opportunity in Liberia, we run to either a European company or we run and these same people, they're not better than any of us. And so that's a problem. So we'll be discussing that tomorrow on the Business and Economic Forum. And it's going to be a full house. So please join in and let us debate that issue. So I'm going to be, actually, I'm calling for the LBDI bank president to resign effective immediately. I'm going to be writing the president on that for bad leadership and for not being able to lead that thing effectively. So let's get back to the topic here real quickly to close.
Alex, you use your time to make that page. So let me read a few comments from our viewers, and then I'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Robin Draper said, Liberians are the only people that frown on education. Other nations are embracing education, yet we fight hard to undermine the benefits of education. Why? Solomon Bicanto said, every year we have an economic conference, but nothing is changing about the economy. Although we bring together our best, we need to look at other strategies. Augustin Amangwe says, France did not educate their people before the French Revolution. America did not educate their people before they resist the British people.
Absolutely.
Kenya or Mao didn't educate the Kenyans before wrestle power from the British. He led a man with integrity to set the goal, and Bwaka is the man. He's making a page for Bwaka. Telco say, having worked for state government for almost a decade, the greater responsibility is always on the government. Anything else that a citizen does is an addition. Solomon says, Steve, I would not agree with you at all, bro. I'm not specific on what is disagreeing about. Telco say, train the people to vote right, whether for independent candidate or otherwise. Jenan Menye, even some of those that claim to be educated have a corrupt mindset. When they are not in the spotlight, their intention remain true. But when they get there, hey, Dave Jassy, I'm so surprised that folks are not outraged by what we have in Liberia from 1860 to present. And let me read the last comment here so I can come back to you. I'm trying to skip some. Miata Dakina says, some Liberian people don't like to hear the truth, period. Bunch of followers. That will do it for some of our comments. I don't see any. All right, back to you, Alex.
Okay, so real quick here. Again, I'm gonna be running for the non-presidency of Liberia. That's my campaign. So I know I'm gonna be very unpopular amongst the political elites. I'm gonna be very unpopular against the people who want to retain the status quo. So again, that's my campaign. That's why that's my protest. Then that's my life work. I spent a number of years researching this. And I came to the conclusion that Liberia's system would never deliver its intended purpose. And I'm just going to go back. I just want to share this real quickly. Yeah? And this is the Liberian Constitution, right? On the screen there. It says the structure of the state, okay? And one of the things it says that all power is inherent in the people. Free governments are instituted by the authority and for their benefit, and they have the right to alter or reform the same when their safety or happiness so required. That's my campaign. Our happiness in Liberia, our safety in Liberia, and we have a right to alter that structure. This structure here is broken. And Alexander Cummings and Ellie Johnson Sirleaf and George Weah wants to convince me that this structure works. If this structure works, why are we the most extreme poor nation, one of the most extreme poor nations in Liberia? Why are we having all these political discourses? Why our healthcare system is broken? Why there's so much corruption? Why every legislator has been more corrupt than the previous one? If you can tell me that it's working. So my job and the job of all Liberians who want their happiness and their safety is to look for a better structure. It's in our Constitution. The problem is people don't read it. And you go right down to the Constitution of 54 or something, it tells you all things that the president can appoint. What country in the world you find where president appointing down to magistrate and down to people who can, what you call a notary public? In this constitution, it tells you the president can appoint notary public. So it's foolishness. So if you're running for president and you tell me you're going to follow this constitution and think you're going to create economic growth, you're going to create social awareness, and you're going to create an education system that is funded, that teaches people, you're out of your minds. And so I'm just trying to, when you talk about this education, when we're talking about this education, what are we talking about? We have to know education is very broad. There's some people that do health, some people that do just politics, some people that do engineering, some people that do finance. And our problem is we don't know how to rely on expertise, and we don't want to seek where things work. There's many countries in the world, and I'll give you another example, where they just reform the structure. Rwanda is one of those countries. All these countries here, okay, and let me move this here. All these countries here, most of them are recent countries with new constitution. Look at this country, 87, the Philippines. Okay, Poland, we just did a constitution in 1997. Okay, go 1991, Romania, Rwanda, 2003. Okay, Serbia, 2006. All right, so many countries, South Africa, 97. Okay, our constitution was written in 1847, we just revised a little bit of it in 1983, or 1986 rather, right? We have not sat down to say, what do we want as a people? And what our values are? The problem is everybody wants power. And when they get the power, what do? Did they go back and look at a Rwanda constitution or Ghana constitution and say, look, let's remove this, or let me run on the fact that I'm going to eliminate some of the powers of the president. They don't do that. They get there, they give themselves more powers. Mm-hmm. So me and them for it. All of them, the Cummins, the Ure, the Joshua, they're running their campaign. I'm running my campaign, and I'm going to do the best job using technology. This message will get across, and every Liberian will get it that our system is broken. And anybody who comes and tells you, vote for me, they're part of that broken system, and they want that broken system for their own benefit. That's why they want it. They want that power in the presidency. They don't want to be real to tell the Liberian people, this system will never build schools. When you have a legislator there that's taking almost 25% of the budget and paying themselves $15,000 a month, while the people can't even get $2 a day. These people are heartless people. They're politicians who only care about their own influence. We saw it with Ellen Johnson. We're going to see it with Cummins. We're going to see it with whoever become president, Barker, whoever. If Barker, Cummins, and these people were serious about business, they will go and read our constitution and they will condemn it. They will say, we're not going to campaign on this constitution. Let's have a referendum. Let's talk about how we can make the process more equitable for all Liberians. But the supporters will come here and support them. They are more menace to Liberian society, our political leaders, than anybody else.
Ellis, and that's what I keep saying. What is it that we are demanding as a people? What is it that we are asking our political leaders to do? What is it that we are asking our legislators or our candidates to do? Yeah. All along, what we've been doing is to fall in line. So a candidate comes up with their platform that we never talked about, and we are forced to pick either A or B. I'm saying we can pick none of the above. Absolutely. But let me show you a post that I did. And this is what pains me, because right now in Liberia, this is the situation between opposition and the ruling class, right? Everybody's mouth is like bullets to the other person. Yeah. And why are we doing it? Yeah. And why are we doing it? What is it going to benefit us as a people? What do we get from politicians doing this, for which we are at each other's throat, for which we are yelling at each other on a daily basis? We have not looked at the root causes of the problems. We are looking at the symptom and somebody coming up and say, I'm going to fix it. Why in the world would Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, of all persons, not reduce the
powers of the presidency?
The powers. Why would she not reduce even the length of the time they stay in power? 6 years for president, 9 years for senator, 6
Yeah.
years for representative. Who in their right mind, because everybody talked about that, but because this power is so sweet and the next person is standing in line to enjoy
Yes.
that same corrupt power, so we get our people yelling at each other. We don't support anything that is innovative. We don't support individuals with good ideas. We support politicians. If you get up now and have the best idea, even to go on the moon, how many followers are you going to get? How many people are going to go live to say, well, today Dr. Baton Kula has found the cure for diabetes. So we Liberians, we're going to go on Facebook Live, have a GoFundMe, or do something to promote him, do something to exalt him. But who do we worship? We bow down and worship politicians, and they are not improving our system. We form lines. We see people in Liberia, they form lines before their doors to beg for crumbs. And the Constitution says the power is inherent in the people.
In the people. They can
Dr.
teach
Kula,
that.
let's get your parting comment so we can close this, because I'm getting.
You're getting emotional, Dennis.
I'm getting emotional because we continue to support these people. Why we don't support scientists? Why we don't support teachers? Our universities are empty now. Those who used to teach are no longer there because everybody is running for political office. There is no more incentives for doing the right thing. If you're a good high school teacher, you are no longer there. If you were in the village and you are the only one, like the man or Morris Carter who came and started the little elementary school in my hometown of Dodwicken. Right now, nobody is there these days. There's no teacher because we do not reward those kind of people anymore. We reward corruption. We celebrate robbery. Thieves are the people being celebrated. We are doing
political robbery. That's what it is.
And then when you are doing something so positive, I mean, it's lukewarm. Who's going to listen to you? Dr. Kula, let me hear your parting comments as we draw down to close the broadcast. Dr. Kula, you are muted, so if you can unmute yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the conclusion of this segment of our new and innovative ideas. We're going to continue on this. We didn't even get into the meat of this, but if you are interested in contributing your ideas, inbox us or send an email to focusonliberal@gmail.com. You can inbox Dr. Kula or Alex Jones or Waymond Koning or Steve Bolo and talk about your innovative ideas. And if you want to be a part of the working group or you want to be a part of the show, our doors are open. Alex, your final words.
Yeah, so again, my people, I don't mean to rattle any feathers. Okay, my goal is I'm not against anybody. I'm not for anybody. I just want my country to be a great country for our children and grandchildren. And so I did the work, or I'm doing the work with the help of many people. There is a way. Okay, we're willing to do the work. All we need to do is to support what is right. Okay, if Alex Jones comes to tell you, say, vote for me to be senator because he will do things for you, don't vote for him. Because Alex Jones does not need to be senator to come up with an idea or to make his people better. Okay, you need people in our society who, despite of holding government position, who are not going towards anything because of politics or for position. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to look for ideas to better our country. The idea that every county in Liberia, right, resources, at least half of it will stay within the county so they can develop and build schools and build clinics and build roads. Who will oppose that kind of idea? Okay, tell me, let me find a Liberian person who wants to tell me that what I'm proposing to say that in your county, you'll get together, you'll take your resources, you don't give it to the federal, to George Weah to go buy airplane or fly on airplane. You'll take half of your money and you'll build schools for the education thing you're talking about. You'll build hospital. You'll set up your own council like a federation or like a confederation that other countries do. What? So you're not against me. I'm there for you. I'm saying take your own power. Don't let nobody tell you, oh, when they get there, then they will give you this. Go to your country. Fight for us to have autonomy in Liberia. Fight. President is not going to build hospitals and roads in your city. So fight the government to relinquish that power so that the resources from your villages and your town can be controlled by your people. If it's going to be squandered, let it be squandered by your people. That's the point I'm making when I say abolish the presidency. I'm saying that the counties in Liberia, everybody is from a county or associated with a county. No money goes to the county except for the one metal, steel, or a little bit of what, few $100,000 in the whole county that the government allocates. And when the government allocates it, it's there to pay superintendent and buy gas for the cars and all that kind of nonsense. So you have no development in the country. But yet, we support this system. Yeah, every young person, oh, I'm part of UP party, I'm part of CDC party. And you don't even have a fitting elementary school or library. So what I'm saying, I'm gonna fight these guys. And they're gonna hit me because I'm gonna bust the bubble. I have the technology, I have Focus on Liberia, I have Front Page Africa, I have BBC. I'm gonna expose this system that all our politicians are corrupt and they all participate in this cartel. Because when they get there, then the people who support them, they get jobs and make $15,000, $10,000. That's why they keep their mouths shut. They want position because the position, they're taking the money from the state and they're diverting that money to pay themselves. Then they send their children to America. In the villages, they don't even have a high school. That's why they won't run for elections. Or every last one of them. And like I said, that's my campaign for them. And so help me God, I will win this campaign. Years will come and people will remember this video and they will say, Alex Jones said that Liberian presidency and the power will go back to the people in the county and development will come. Yes, when I maybe 5, 10 years, I may be dead and gone, but I will fight this cause. And I'm glad that other people are willing to support Dave, Jab, and all the people who are encouraging, including Dr. Kula, Dr. Kone. But we need something new. The old system is broken. Let us not patch it. Let us just be creative. We live in the most innovative period of society where you can pick up the phone, you can transfer money. And we still have a system that we're using from the 1900s or before that. If we want to change something, let's change the structure of government. Our constitution tells us if it's not working, we just change it.
Yeah.
So if you want me to join, call me. Let's talk about it. And people don't want to do that because they want to be aligned with certain people, their friends.
Yeah.
They want to be senator. Dave Jai or whoever, Dennis Jai now will be the next president. So when Alex Jones said, abolish the presidency there, oh no, Alex, that's a far-fetched idea. Right?
And on that note, we want to say thank you so much, Mr. Jones. We want to thank our contributors, our callers, our panelists, and our viewers, the one who continue to support us, the one who continue to give us feedback, the one who continue to criticize us and who are accountable for what we do. We want to say thank you so much. Please join us
next Friday, 6:30.
Next Friday and every Friday so that we can discuss new and innovative ideas in moving our country forward. We are not satisfied with the way things are. We don't think the solutions are just simple and simplistic as others may think. We don't think that these things can be solved overnight, but we can all come together and discuss ways in which we can move things forward. Again, thank you so much for watching.
We are
That's the song that's going to end the broadcast tonight. We are all Liberians. Let's do our best to move our country forward.